Okay, first of all, Kimberly Snyder, you have been one of my greatest inspirations since the beginning, truly. It was your beauty detox solution that just like opened up such a realm of possibilities, truly just like opportunities with understanding and seeing food differently. And as you're here in this vibrant yellow, like this is, to me, you are a beacon of light, and you just have this vibrancy to you and your spirit and everything that you share that I've always been so aligned with since the beginning.
Thank you so much. You are so kind. I love you so much. We've been connected this whole journey, and we've become moms around the same time, and just being here and seeing what you've created is amazing. So the fact that we've been through these incredible journeys together is such an honor, and I'm so grateful we're connected.
Me too. I feel like there is like, the version of myself truly a decade ago when I started in this space, and I just felt like, I looked up to people like you and felt this feeling of, well, that's not going to happen for me. And believing that truly, that it was just like, oh, I don't want to say got lucky, because I used to think that when I was really young, like, oh, people just got lucky. But it was like you confidently found your thing. And I was really struggling with that inner confidence, and just felt like, I don't know, like, how do you get up there and just talk with this presence? And
I think we all struggle with believing in ourselves. I've certainly struggled all along the way. And for me, the biggest thing that continues to this day, it's evolved so much. I remember that first book, which we'll talk about, because it was when I was living in New York, and I had a tiny kitchenette, and I just had this dream of being published, right? So it was just like, oh, I don't know if I can be published. And then I was like, oh, I can be published. I don't know if I can make the New York Times bestseller list, right? And then it was just like, it sort of organically grew, and now I have kids. I have a kids book coming out.
She's a New York Times bestselling author, multiple time New York Times bestselling author.
It kept evolving, right? Then I was like, oh, I'm really interested in spirituality and expanding. The 4 cornerstones of Saluna isn't just food, it's body, emotional well-being, which is what the children's book is about, spiritual growth. So then I was like, oh, I don't know if I can get into that field. There's all these other people in it. So it always confronts us. And the biggest thing that's helped me is always my why. And my why is, I'm so excited to share, blah, blah, blah. Everybody has to know about this glowing green smoothie. Everybody has to know about these tools for creating calmness and peace. Everybody has to know this is an amazing way to create vitality. So as long as I connected to, it's not about me, someone else may not hear this if I'm focused in my own self-doubt. That helps me move beyond those limitations.
Ooh, I just got full body chills, because that's exactly what helped me get out of my own way.
Yes.
Is making it, first of all, it's that excitement and that joy and that like burst of, I don't know where this is going, but I have to share.
Yes.
That people feel that vibrational frequency.
And that's where, I'm getting goosebumps now. That's where creativity lives. That's where passion lives. That's where connection lives. I don't know if I'm good enough, or I don't know if I can do this, is ego, right? So we stay really small, and the focus is on me, me, me. So we start to look in the mirror, we look around, we compare, we feel competitive with our sisters and others. But when we go inside and we connect, there is no competition. We're all just this unique expression. So we're here to share, we're here to help each other. And then that fuels creative projects. And then we find different pathways to create what we want.
And then life's synchronicity, like it's so amazing. Like I love moments like this, because I'm like, when you really do work from that place, from your heart.
Yes.
Life opens up in ways that like you can't see it. You just have to trust it.
That's right. And so my next adult book, which is
I can't wait for you to read.
It's called The Hidden Power of the 5 Hearts. And it's this spiritual and scientific journey of awakening your heart through 5 stages. And so the science shows that heart-brain coherence means heart-brain nervous system starts to link up. We start to just not overthink so much, but come from this really creative place of pure potentiality. And when that happens, there's actually an electromagnetic field around our heart that's measurable by magnetometers and scientific equipment. It's 100 times stronger than the brain. So as you come into sync with your heart and with your truth, you literally are, you said the word vibration, love, right? That you literally are that it's magnetic. You can't explain why certain people are or they aren't, but this is a way that you can really draw people to you. So it doesn't feel so arduous, like you're pushing and pulling. And I can say from personal experience, I share this in the book, when I am in that coherent field, and when I was one day in New York walking down the street, who did I run into in the street? One of my idols, Deepak Chopra. So people say to me, how did you write a book with him? How did you do all these things? I ran into him on the street and I took that opportunity. I said, Deepak, you reviewed one of my books. We've never met. I'd love to meet. We sat at a coffee shop and in 2 hours decided to write a book together, which would become Radical Beauty. But these are the sorts of synchronicities and this flow that starts to come when we're not overthinking things.
And we're not living in that push and pull and force. And it's so interesting. Fear and strategy. I think so many, I understand strategic people. Well, actually, I don't. That was a full lie. I don't.
Yeah.
I try to hold space and open myself up to understand that way of thinking, because for me, it really is this, it's like that magnetic intuitive field that you feel in this state of flow.
That's right.
When you stop trying to make shit happen. Whenever people are like, I'm trying to make shit happen, I'm like, stop. Or just
doing
try
so much.
Not to. And then you align yourself, your spirit, you do your practice, you do the work, and then it's like, oh, the floodgates open.
Well, sometimes I think we think, oh, follow your heart means, we're being sentimental or over romanticized. But actually, this is where our real intelligence comes from. This is when we're tuned in to source, right? All spiritual traditions and ancient cultures like the Babylonians and the Egyptians always talked about the heart. In modern times, it's become so heady. Like you said, strategy, overthinking, all the, I think neuroscience is great and all the nootropics, but the heart and the mind can work together, the heart and the brain. So when we are in this deeper place and we are in sync with ourselves, it just opens up potential. We don't have to go to a party and say, oh, I'm trying to get this from that person. Or, I'm talking to this person, but I'm not really listening because I have an objective. Then we're not present. And then our intuition drops. And then we don't get the outcomes that we want.
No. And we're like, we've all had conversations with the people who are just like looking for the next important person in the room or whatever it is, or coming with an expectation attached.
That's right.
To the outcome of why you're there in the first place.
Also, when we're in heart, when we're in more heart coherence, this calmness comes. Because I think one of the things that holds us back is erratic emotions, which actually are of the ego. They're not of the heart. That's when we get really frustrated or angry or jealous or envious, right? And so the science shows that even 2 minutes of irritation, like, oh, this isn't happening, sets into process 1,500 different biochemical processes in the body that actually drain our energy, right? So it's imbalancing our hormones. It's keeping us cut off from our vitality, and people can sense that. So really, the science shows us that as well. And so these evidence-based tools, which I shared my kids' book and the next adult book, I'm so passionate about getting this out because they're really easy and they're really simple. And they connect us back to heart and more peaceful perceptions and better success and outcomes.
I just read the children's book.
Yes.
And it was so funny because you literally just landed into New York. You came from JFK, and I felt this energy that I was sending you, because I know the feeling, right? Where you're like, I was supposed to be here at this time. And by the way, queen of like, can run a little late, really been working on that, been doing great, by the way. And I realized it was my anxiety that liked being late, or those anxious feelings that you're so used to and comfortable with.
Yes.
That I'm like, no, I don't like being late. It's that feeling that I've gotten so used to.
Yeah.
But I was reading your children's book. Can you say the name?
Chilla Gorilla and Lanky Lemur, Journey to the Heart.
It's so sweet. But I felt so calm, and I was like sending you that energy because I was like, I know that feeling and like, just, it's all going to be okay, you know?
And it's a really fun story, right? The characters are based on my husband, who's the gorilla, and the lemur. Those of us that are moms can relate to sort of that, you know, bouncy, lots of emotional energy from their child. So our son just turned 8 and he goes through a lot of big feelings. And so what the message of the story is teaching these tools that have been published in the American Journal of Cardiology. And there's a lot of science behind it, but it's very simple. Even as simple as teaching our kids and ourselves to literally shift into our heart. So even we do it now, I'm speaking to you, I'm present with you, but part of my perception, part of my focus is in my heart. And when we do that, that alone starts to rewire our nervous system. So again, out of the circular thoughts, out of the ego. So it starts to create this heart-brain coherence, this communication, which allows us to expand. So you feel a little bit more expansive, calmer. I calmed down after getting to the office and especially giving you a hug.
No, I was like, don't worry.
But we can teach this to our kids as well. I didn't have tools for growing up with my big feelings. I ultimately had anxiety and bulimia and all sorts of things. So if we start to teach this to ourselves and to our kids, it does create more, not just calmness, but more like solution-oriented mindset to, I can communicate. I would like to have my toy back now instead of the prolonged tantrums. I would like to express this, right, for the children to give them these tools and for ourselves just to create more of that less overwhelm and tap into intuition. And so also, Melissa, we did, it's so amazing when I started the journey, and I'm like pointing here because I usually have a smoothie. So much of it is food for me and smoothies, but now there's so much around this internal state, the meditations, and the emotional well-being. And so we actually did a study with the Heart Math Institute, which is in Northern California. They've been studying heart-brain communication for 30 years. And so we did this heart-aligned meditation for adults, which is in the adult book, and then for kids in the Chilla book. And we found in 4 weeks a 29% increase in coherence, which is exactly the language we were talking about, that vibe, that magnetism, that you don't know what it is. It just means that person is synced up. So 29% increase. And it's only 8 minutes. For kids, it's 4 minutes. It just shows that we are so empowered to shift our energy, to create what we want when we are aligned with ourselves, which definitely means more calm emotions as well.
It's so beautiful to see. It's just as you went there, because I discovered you from, it started with food. And I too battled an eating disorder, really struggled with food and my relationship with food. And then through the journey of healing myself, I learned it was never about the food.
That's right.
Right? It was just, I used that as this tool of control.
Yes.
And we all know, that can only take you so far. But I think for anyone who is new to you, because it was your story too, and your truth, and sharing like what you had gone through. And like, I think about that, right? Like where you were, but like where you are now. And that is honestly one of the reasons why I wanted to start a podcast, is to share that anything is possible. That like, no matter where you are in your life, like you can turn it around. And I think just like your journey of like traveling, it's such a beautiful story.
So thank you so much. I'm getting goosebumps. And that's why it is important that we share our stories, because I think otherwise we can feel like we're alone or isolated or people don't understand. So I'll keep it brief, but I'll say that I grew up with no emotional support. And I had loving parents, but they were struggling. My mother was a immigrant from the Philippines. So it was really about like, let me do better for my children materially. Let me provide, let me give them an education. But I was sort of left on my own a lot. So I started to develop perfectionism and being obsessed with getting perfect grades to have love. And then, as I mentioned, that spiraled into control and my weight and bulimia. But I was always really interested in the body. I was interested in feeling better. So I went into college, pre-med. I had a science and math partial scholarship. And then I was in the cancer ward for a hospital one summer. And I said, I don't think I want to be a doctor. This isn't for me, but I love this, I love the body. I love energy. I love all the science around it. So then I didn't know what I was going to do. And as you mentioned, I worked for a little while. I saved up money and I ended up backpacking for 3 years. And it wasn't supposed to be that long, but I realized I could do it really inexpensively. And I bought one of those around the world tickets from Sydney. So you go in one direction and you can make 15 stops at the time. Right? This is like circa 2009. And I did it 3 times. But the point of this journey was that I was out of the Western world for 3 years. So I was mostly in Africa and Asia. So I started to think about things in a very different way. I was in countries like Zimbabwe and Mongolia where there's no calorie counting. There's no obsession with, it's just comparing based on look, all these different things that I felt so enmeshed in growing up. There wasn't dieting culture. So I started to have a different framework for beauty and energy and digestion and vitality. And then I came back, I moved here to New York City because I actually grew up in Connecticut. So I had family around. And I started to go back to nutrition school. I was teaching yoga. I started a free blog, the most tech unsavvy person. My neighbor helped me. And all I did, Melissa, was I told stories, on what I had learned on the blog, and I shared it with my yoga students. So I didn't have any SEO. I didn't know anything about online marketing, but it started to spread through New York City. And then one of my first celebrity found me. And then organically, she lives in New York. So I got on a film set. And then next thing I know, with no plan, I just started meeting people. And then I started working with more celebrities and, Channing Tatum and Reese Witherspoon. Channing would, and I got a book deal. He hosted my first book launch party. And so I started getting into wider circles. And then I ended up moving to LA because my clients were there. But actually, here in my kitchenette, I would drop ship food at one time it was Drew Barrymore, Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, Channing, and like 2 other people almost every day from New York to LA. We were supposed to do that. I know I should say this, but I knew the FedEx person, so we would drop ship the food. And then it just got to be so much. I moved to LA, right? It just kept unfolding. And then I started to get more into holistic wellness and Ayurveda meditation. As I mentioned, I met Deepak Chopra. I wrote a book with him. And then started doing more, meditation and spiritual books. And now my next 2 books are about the heart. And it's kind of come around to like this science meets spirituality meets how do we really create success? How do we blast through these blocks? So it's been this, and children's books, right? It's sort of been this, and created Saluna, which is my wellness brand, which has courses.
I love the digestive enzymes.
And digestive enzymes and detoxy.
I learned about that from you.
So key. So it goes back to when I was backpacking, and it wasn't so much about numbers. It was how efficiently is our body working? And the key, one of the biggest cores is how well do we digest? So I say we're not, what we eat, which is what a lot of people say. We are what we digest and assimilate. And that also means digesting emotions. Because when I was bulimic, it wasn't about the food. Like we said, I couldn't digest these experiences, these feelings. I was literally throwing up life. Right? Food became the tool, but also food and nutrition, right? That's why I'm really into smoothies and certain powders, like our glowing greens powder, which is formulated with only 7 ingredients.
That's new.
It's brand new.
I cannot wait for that. The GGS smoothie is iconic.
It's iconic.
It really is.
So everything that I create too, I'll say about creation comes from the spanda, which is a Sanskrit word for this inspiration. Like we said, I have to share. I really want to get this out in the world. So I remember sitting in my kitchenette down the street in the West Village, and I had this rent-controlled apartment. And one day, I'd been to the Ann Wigmore Institute in Puerto Rico, which talked about blending. They made something called an energy soup, but it was based in seaweed. And to be honest, it was quite gross. But I'm sitting in my kitchen, and I blended spinach and banana. And I said to my boyfriend at the time, he was sitting on the couch, I go, hey, what do you think of this? And he goes, hey, it's not so bad. So that became the first glowing green smoothie. And I remember I was on the Dr. Oz show a few years later, and it was like, when time slows down, he was saying, Kimberly Snyder's glowing green smoothie. And I said, I can't believe I'm sharing this with so many people. It was just like me in this tiny, in my pajamas sharing it, right? So then recently, I started to see what was out there in terms of, just so many supplements and all these powders and things people were taking. And another word came to mind, which is pranya parada, which means a crime against nature. Because I was seeing formulas with like 70 ingredients and like not a real respect for plants and how many you would consume at one time. And so many other, energetic mixes. And when I worked at the Ayurvedic clinic and I would prepare the mixes for patients, we would never mix more than 7 plants at once. That was around the general rule. So our greens powder was formulated from that passion of saying, we need certain plants right now because we live in this world that is toxic. There's a lot of inflammation. There's a lot of stress. So our star ingredient is amalaki, which is this Ayurvedic herb that's known as the fountain of youth. It's amazing. It's also amazing. It's amazing for many things. My textbooks say it's also wonderful for fertility because it makes you so, your rejuvenation is so high. You take in life. And then plants from the sea, from the water. So there's chlorella and spirulina, plants from the land, ashitaba, which is the super spinach, moringa, and then cordyceps. So there's mushrooms close to the earth, and the amalaki is grown in the air. So it's an energetic mix, and I'm really excited for you to try it. I wanted to put something out in the world that's very carefully crafted.
Everything you do is. And it's just like sitting here, I feel like all the videos, way back when I feel like you were in that kitchen. And I was watching you.
This is circa 2011.
No, truly, but it's you taught me so much. And it's really what led me because I was covered in cystic acne. And I remember you were too.
Yes, and especially around here.
Yes. And that really drew me in because I was like, I'm struggling.
Yes.
And I did everything, Accutane, every topical. I had done all the things that top doctors were telling me to do. And then it was truly like getting my hands on that book and shifting to a plant-based, like plant-focused way of life where
Amazing.
Like everything started to really shift and open up. And then, starting a meditation practice, moving like I loved myself, which was something I didn't do for my entire life.
And look at what you've created now. Because you started to align to your true self. And that's such a core message. The true self is in everyone. So we really don't have to feel competitive, which I think is, this comparison. A lot of women in my community say, oh, I always feel bad when I look on social media. I feel like I'm not as fit, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. And that's just, it's so, it's just another way that we limit ourselves instead of saying, oh, there's information to take in. But the main thing we need to do first is connect, and to have practices to connect on a daily basis. Be really mindful, even if you're blending that smoothie or making something, not do it while you're doing 10 things, but to respect, like this is really important form of self-care. Take those moments to breathe, take those moments to have great, meaningful conversations and look in the other person's eyes, to slow down. The things that we know, we hear about, but sometimes it's like, oh yeah, whatever, But when we're really rooted and connected, the best stuff always comes.
The best stuff and the best relationships and connections. And just, for me, it's exactly like what you're saying, where you're just like walking on the street and then you walk into someone and it turns into doing this amazing thing together. And it all stems from this place of no longer looking outside of yourself for all the answers, which, God, I did for so long.
So when we're talking about self-love as well, we're really talking about we feel whole. Because if we don't feel whole, it doesn't mean we have to be perfect, doesn't mean we look a certain way. We feel lack. And when we feel lack, when we're talking about the heart coherence, it registers to other people as chaotic, ungrounded, all these words where people are like,
you can feel it in people.
I don't know if I want to go on another date with that person, or, whatever it is. So when we actually tap into this wholeness, which isn't so complicated. And again, these tools that I share in these heart books are they're evidence-based, but they're simple. And there's a lot of science into how we do this, but we don't need gadgets. We don't need tools. We don't need all these different things. We can actually just connect back in, slow down. And by the way, this is how I met my husband. Not from, dating apps, but just walking around the world. I had been, meditating and connecting back in myself. And then an invitation for a random dinner party came up. Paramahansa Yogananda says that your soulmate and your soul friends are never far from your orbit. So when we stay open, intuitive, say yes to some of those invitations, you're like, oh,
I just got full body chills from my spine.
And then just showing up in your own light, watch what you draw in. These synchronicities, these amazing opportunities, which, like you said, Melissa, the strategic mind doesn't create that.
It doesn't.
I could never create, hey, I'm going to run into Deepak in the street. It happened. There was this energetic lining up, right? And that's magnetism. It just is the way the universe works. And I love how science also shows this as well, right? So they even have something called the Global Coherence Initiative. Heart Math has these incredible machines that they've placed in Saudi Arabia, New Zealand, South Africa, and they show how synced up we really become. When world events happen, there's changes in the magnetic field around the planet, right? So there is something very real and something empowering about magnetism once we learn to access the heart's intelligence and power. And we could teach it to our kids.
Okay, so tell me how you met your husband, because I need to know, I need to know about the connection.
Oh my gosh.
You guys have.
He's so
But
amazing.
I feel your soulful aligned connection. I feel it.
Oh gosh. You can't manufacture this stuff, right?
No.
So I'll back up and say that I was in another relationship, and I've talked about this in my last book, You Are More Than You Think You Are. I had a rock bottom moment where my mom passed away really suddenly. It was less than 6 weeks from her cancer diagnosis. It was like, whoa, she's the healthiest person. She was helping me cook for clients and do all these things, to one day she said, I'm kind of tired. And then it was just was almost unbelievable how, went to the doctor and this came in and then she was gone. So what it did though for me was anything can happen at any time. So it was like presence. And I looked at my life, Melissa, and I said, this isn't it. And what I mean by that was I was with a partner and we were engaged. We weren't married. We had my first child together, who was not even one. And I don't think I would have had the courage before, but this experience with my mom was like, life is right here. Don't say, let's see what happens in a year or so. Right now, we take opportunities right now. So I was a new mom. I lost my mom. And then I decided to move out. So then I became a single mom. And the other thing was my dad was a wreck because of my mom. They'd been married for 40 years. So he was living with us. So I moved out with my son and my dad into this house. And which is also, in Venice. And I felt like such a loser. Front facing, it was oh great, you have all these books, New York Times bestseller, working with these celebrities, all this stuff. But I would cry in my closet every night. And I was like, this is not how I wanted my life to turn out. Now I'm alone, I went inside I met with this monk at the Self-Realization Fellowship, which is Yogananda's meditation center. He said, just treat your home like an ashram. For now, just focus on yourself. So I read scripture. I went back to the Bhagavad Gita. I read the Bible. I meditated. And when I popped out, everything I'm talking about came post that experience. When I popped out, that's when Soluna was birthed, my wellness brand. That's when I started creating what I think is my best material. And I started walking around the world again with a very different energy. So someone who came on my podcast, who I barely knew, invited me to this dinner party. I get to this dinner party in Venice. It's going to be whatever. I get there. Melissa, one of the first people I met was John, my husband. And, there's other people around. Within 15 minutes, he said he knew that I was to be his wife.
Oh my God.
Took me a little bit longer, okay? But I was like, there's something about this guy, even though front-facing, I'm plant-based. I think he was eating a big steak at the party, completely covered in tattoos, a gold grill in his teeth, not the kind of guy I would usually be attracted to, but the heart, right? I was so in my heart. There's an energy here and I can't ignore it. The mind would have been no way, dude. And I would have walked past, but the heart said, So then I was I got to leave because I said to him, I do a beach walk every day. He goes, I'll do your beach walk. And I said, really? Because it's in 5 hours. This is 2 a.m. I do it at 7. He goes, yeah, I'll come. So he shows up for the beach walk. And so we walk for 2 hours, amazing connection. And then I was like, I don't really ask guys, to do anything, but I'm doing the speaking thing for Levi's tonight. Do you want to come? And he's like, yeah, I'll come. So we hung out 3 times in 24 hours, paused on Sunday, went to dinner on Monday. And that was the first night he told me he loved me. And then fast forward, love, we went to a trip. 6 weeks later, we were engaged. And 2 months later, so 2 months from when we met, we got married.
Wow.
And now that's over 5 years ago. Oh. And then we have a baby as well, Mosey.
He's so cute.
3 going on 4.
Oh. It's so interesting because I feel like from an outsider, like if you said to someone, right, if you were like talking about a friend and you're like, she met him and in the 3rd date, it's so easy to be like, but isn't there right? Like it's so easy to go there and to be like, just, I don't know, a little judgmental, I guess, right? Like we all have judgment, and it just brings it back to like, you guys had this connection here.
Yeah. So we're talking about the same thing, right? I'm getting goosebumps like for the 15th time to talk to you.
15 times already.
We're talking about quantum leaps, right? So when we're not in the field of the mind, which is this
is a hard thing for people to understand.
Process, I have to date this many times, or it's so hard to meet someone, or it's so hard to get my career off the ground, or I can't start this business. That's the mind. When you go in, things can change in a second. It goes past time and space. That's where, oh my gosh, I just had this most amazing product idea, or I just met someone who wants to invest in my company, or I just met my soulmate. The heart is not linear. It's actually non-linear. And that's how it sees wider solutions. And that's how your intuition turns on, and you can just feel if this is the right partner or the right person. And I can look back at times when I didn't pick the right partner in love and otherwise. One of my first business partners stole money. And it was like a horrible, dramatic relationship because coming from a lack place, I was like, oh, he knows more about technology. I need to rush into this, and now I just sit back and really feel things more. And I don't think I would make quite that same mistake again.
Yeah.
So it just shows most of us are always overthinking. We're overanalyzing. The mind is racing. But if we can come more into this heart coherence, the heart actually creates more messages to the brain. So now your perception is more clear. And that's really what intuition is.
I know. It is everything you're saying. I'm like, I know with every cell in my body, because I used to be the person who thought I could never create a life beyond my wildest dreams, where I love what I do, where I have joy bursting out of me and just this true contentment and fulfillment with self and everything I'm doing.
And a beautiful family.
And amazing friends, an incredible team. I do believe too, like you made me think about, I feel like in New York and LA and all these big cities, like you hear about, a lot of single friends that dating is really hard. And I do think that energy, right? Like even the words can be living in a place of lack, right? Like it's hard to see that, I think, when you're possibly in that place. And it is challenging.
Oh gosh.
But can you talk a little bit about like the words that you're speaking into existence?
I'm getting goosebumps again because we did this heart-aligned meditation study it was in Los Angeles with 30 participants. And it's in the children's book as a family version, and it's in The Hidden Power of the 5 Hearts. And 2 of the participants in the study, one was a doctor from Stanford who was very career-driven, and she hadn't met anyone, and she was in her getting to her late 30s, and she's like, oh my God, I want a family. The other one was also an executive, and she was in her mid-30s, and she had moved to LA to try to meet someone, and she hadn't met anyone yet. Both of them did the study. They're learning to make their heart more coherent. And within weeks, they both met their life partner. I am not kidding.
No, I believe
they're both going to get married and have kids with these partners, because we hear these ideas, we look around, we think about, oh my gosh, there's so many people on whatever these dating apps are, which goes into thoughts, goes into ego, goes into lack, and creates that incoherent resonance. It's not that, you don't want to put yourself out there, but you can't let the external world affect your vibration. So what you do, the most powerful thing you can do if you're trying to find love, if you're trying to meet someone, if you're trying to get a new career, a new job, is you can control your own coherence, which is your vibration. So you do that with some of the evidence-based tools that I teach, which will change your vibration right away. And as simply as, the very preliminary one is shift your attention to your heart.
Right. When you
can we do a 10-second practice here, 20-second practice?
I would love to.
I want to show you this too right now.
Okay.
So, and anyone listening to this, watching it, can do this with us. So you're just going to close your eyes for a minute and go right to your heart. So that means your physical heart, your energetic heart. You can even place your hand on your heart if you would like to, but you don't have to. And now just for a moment, imagine you're breathing in and out of your heart like it's a giant lung. It's nice slow breaths. You don't have to do a particular count. And now I want you to focus on something or someone that makes you feel appreciation. So appreciation is a mix of gratitude, thankfulness, awe, approval. It could be a loved one or a pet like your dog or a sunset or, vacation, just anything that helps you tap into the feeling of appreciation. And we're going to sustain that for just a few seconds. So once you get the feeling, don't focus on the visual of that person, just focus on the feeling. If it drops for a moment, come right back. You can recall that loved one or that pet. Focus once again on that feeling of appreciation, which feels really expansive, tingly. And then take one more deep breath in. You can take a moment just to thank your heart. It's amazing intelligence and wisdom. You can float your eyes open. So the heart-based emotions, which are shown on graphs, there's a lot of amazing graphs that I'll share in this next book. It creates these smooth sine waves. So the heart is the main biological oscillator of the body. It's the main rhythm center. So just what we did, do you feel a little?
Oh, yeah. No, I feel like I softened.
Softened, you got in sync, your energy seems different. And it is. So research published in the American Journal of Cardiology shows that focusing on the heart rewires your nervous system. So when you do this practice with your kids, we can't control this imagery and all the screens and everything they see, but doing this before bed, which is what reading Chilla Gorilla does, it rewires their nervous system. You do this before you go into a meeting, before you start the day, before you go into a date, before anything, and your energy is more magnetic. And the more you did this, so the participants in the study did this meditation for 4 weeks, 4 times a week, amazing things happened. As I mentioned, 2 of the participants found their life partner.
I can literally feel I feel like we need people to write in.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
No, I can feel it.
You can feel it.
Well, and because it almost makes you want to cry.
There's so much power in there as well. There's so much love to give.
Yeah.
We block ourselves because we block the love and connection. We get into the head, like you said. I'm getting goosebumps again.
We move through a room like this.
Yeah. No, we're like, okay, I need to get here, or I should have these credentials or look a certain way to get this. This is all heady. You don't need any of that once you tap into your heart's power. It is the most attractive thing. It creates the most powerful creative solutions. You'll have your best ideas, your most abundance, your most success. And you know what, love? It creates more health, physical health, because this research shows the more we sync up, the more our hormones balance, the more immunity goes up, there's less inflammation. So one of the studies I also share in the book is that when you do these heart-based practices for 1 month, cortisol was shown to go down 23% and DHEA went up 100%. So DHEA is vitality, it's energy, it's essential for fertility, right? There's so many people struggling today to have kids and they're taking all these supplements. You can create a lot of this incredible power from your own body's syncing up. So the power of the heart, as I mentioned, it's the main biological oscillator. There's 40,000 neurons in the heart. So a lot of people don't know that. They think that, there's another brain in your gut, which there is. But the heart's power changes your health. It changes your hormones. It changes your success. It changes your energy. It makes you feel peaceful.
Everything. I mean, that is like truly like this podcast is called Move with Heart because that has been the thing.
Well, I think that's why we're so connected.
I literally feel so good. Like, it's so crazy. You guys, like, I actually feel like if someone walked over here, there's a strong energy in here.
You know what also it feels to me? And I'm getting goosebumps again. It almost feels like everything for now is gone.
Nothing's here. Mm-hmm.
This is it.
I know.
And this is how you want to feel in life. This is it. My full energy is with you, love. Like our hearts are connected.
Entirely.
This is it. And then we flow to the next thing and we're there. And then the next thing, we're there. And when we're with our kids, we're there. And with our friends, we're there. This is where the best things come. It's not, let me, strategize, or I'm sitting here, but I'm really thinking about my to-do list, or I'm beating myself up for that, it's too much sugar today. The numbers running through the head. Forget it. And you know what? We can't go to the same place to find a solution is where the problem is. So all this stuff about positive thinking and just be positive and use your will more, it's all the mind. So that's why I'm so passionate about sharing about this hard work, because now we're going to a different place. We're not going to the mind to try to control the mind. The heart shifts the perceptions of the mind. And so I want everyone to know about this work. I'm really excited about these next books, love, even more than my previous 6 books. We say this book I love so much. This book ties it all together.
I can feel it.
This changes everything.
It changes everything. But it's a journey to get to this place, I think, and when you do. And it even makes me think about, dating my now husband. I remember the moment when I started to feel, right? You feel that thing where it's beyond deeper than
How long did you guys date?
We knew each other for so many years before.
Oh.
He was my boss.
Oh.
So when I say, I've said things before, I would never date him because I saw him as my boss.
Right.
I saw him in situations I'd like to unsee. Listen, we worked in nightlife. I'm just, I think it's so easy to just pin someone for who you think they are.
Yeah, put them in boxes.
You put them in boxes. And you hear people constantly say, they're not my type.
Yes.
He's not tall enough. He's not this enough. And I'm always the second you can truly let all of that shit go, because it's really just noise and it's all of the things standing in the way of all the creation in our life.
Yes.
Right. And I decided, because I started feeling a different way when I would, when we were spending more time together, and I was like, do I like him? No, can't because I know, I can't. I know people he's dated or whatever the story is. There's always a story.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second I was like, I cannot walk away from this feeling that I feel, and I'm just going to go with it. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to judge it. And I'm just going to be open.
Beautiful.
And that's when, I think I was able to let go of the story and just this connection. Which, by the way, this is it. When people ask me oh, what are you looking forward to? I'm like, I've stopped looking forward to the next moment.
Yeah.
And learning to be with, I say this a lot, but being with what's in front of you is where joy lives for me.
Yes.
And trying to not, it's that thing, like you said, not let life and all of the things, it's so easy to go there, right? I have this event and that, But I'm like, it's all going to be okay. And to just like really savor these moments.
Well, where else are we if not in this moment? We're in nowhere land and we miss it. We're like, oh, this year went by so fast, or my kids have grown up so fast. I don't know what happened. It's because a lot of times we may not actually be there, And I'll also say practically, this heart work really helps with food. As someone who struggled with eating disorders, it was very heady, right? Like, I have to be skinny. How many calories did I eat? I ate too much. I have to throw it up. Like all this analysis. And I've seen this really change. I've started to introduce it into the clients that I still work with. And I don't travel with them anymore because I'm a mama, but I have some core clients and some that I've worked with for over a decade. When I teach them this heart work, it blasts through food cravings. It blasts through all this analysis of right here, my body. Am I really hungry? This intuition turns on, what does my body need? And I need to have this conversation and not drown my, emotions in a bunch of cookies. So this is very practical for increasing vitality, boosting our health, creating healthier dietary patterns, many things, right? So it goes across the board because this is the center of our being.
It's the center of everything. I want to know every single thing you do. Like, I'm like, how do you wake up in the morning? What is the first thing you eat? What is the first thing you do? When do you touch your phone? I've always been so interested in that. And I feel like you've guided me on such a journey.
And it shifted so much, and timing wise.
Right. But just finding more like true connection to listen to what works, what doesn't work. And also to stop feeling like just because someone you admire and love and look up to does things this way, it doesn't have to be that exact way for you.
That's right. So I say it shifted because I think about living here when sometimes I would have dinner reservations at 9:30 and sometimes I would do night yoga classes. Now I'm a mom and I just have a very different life, but the principles are still there. So I go to bed much earlier. Sometimes I go to bed in the 7s.
So jealous.
More like 9:30.
Yeah,
right?
but sometimes if you're tired.
Sometimes, but it's just easier for me to get to bed. And then I like to get up around 5. Me and my husband, 5 sort of our ideal time. Pop open. Don't go to my phone right away. A lot of times, to be completely honest, we're all co-sleeping. So the 4 of us are in the bed. Sit straight up. First thing I do is go into my heart. And I do some of these heart aligned tools that, again, I share. Very simple. I get into heart coherence first thing. And then I sit. I do my meditation first thing. So my ideal is 30. But, traveling, sometimes things shift. But I feel, and again, the heart aligned meditation, which I teach, is bringing you here. So it's not a disassociative meditation. Like, let me pretend I'm somewhere else, like at a waterfall, whatever, which can help calm you. But now I'm really interested in being present. So the heart is bringing you here. So I do that as my must have before I get into the craziness. And then it gets crazy for a little while, right? Like my kids get up. We all have the glowing green smoothie. I'm getting lunch together. I'm getting them dressed. I'm doing the school runs. And then I come back and I settle in the hot water with lemon, the SBO probiotics from Soluna. There's like a really solid routine, which hasn't shifted much in over a decade, to be honest. And then I get into work. Midday now, I do a 1-hour walk, which brings me, there's no reception where I live in the mountains near Malibu. So I get really clear and present. I'm in nature. There's bobcats around and mountain lions. And I feel like it sort of syncopates my body. I get my best ideas on that walk. So that's my main form of exercise. I used to have a, pretty strong yoga practice, do some yin yoga, but not now. So I walk and then I come back and I do, more work and then podcast during the day and pick up my kids at 3, my little one a little bit earlier, family time. And then we have dinner together. We always say grace. We always go around and say what we're grateful for. It's like a real cornerstone moment. We get coherent. Really long bath time. Sometimes we'll be in there for an hour together. We take bath together. And then I do the heart align with my kids. So they get coherent and they all know Mama's going to take us to the heart now. The Chilla Gorilla book, and then they go to bed, and then they'll come up in the night, like I said. But then my husband and I have our time together every night. So we don't go out. We don't go to dinner a lot. We have events sometimes, but really it's more just in bed. My husband calls it the control station, where we talk about goals, dreams, like what we're excited about, what we can support each other with, our feelings, and it's sacred. And then he usually puts on his headset and he likes to watch stuff, and I'll do another meditation. And I go to bed.
And then bed.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Yes.
Also, how I eat has become really simple. I just, we eat a lot of bowls, one pot meals, the smoothies. I don't make a lot of fancy recipes the way I used to. I still have the recipes sometimes, but on a day-to-day basis, I cook very simply for the family.
Are you still plant-based?
Yes.
And you've been for?
My kids since conception.
Wow.
Yeah, my husband is not. He's an omnivore. But now I've been plant-based for, I think it's over 14 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how is it with him? Like with him eating different things?
So he's very supportive of, me kind of taking the lead with the children and also their education and lots of their spiritual meditations and things like that. So we're respectful of each other. I will say what does help a lot is that we're very grateful and lucky to have a guest house, which is his office, because we both work from home, and he's loud. He's on the phone a lot, whereas I'm doing podcasts and writing. So my office is in the main house, but his office over there has its own full kitchen, right? So he cooks the meat over there, which is more the smell can be a little intense. And then he brings it in and we have dinner together. So that makes it a bit easier as well.
I think it's
practically speaking, and of course,
you're like, he has his own house.
Yeah, I mean, it's
no,
a nice
it's beautiful.
bonus. It's not always possible, but
no, but it's. I mean, even if he's like grilling outside or whatever it
yes.
is, but it's just the fact that it's different than what you do, but you're accepting of it because you respect and you love him.
Remember we said about the mind? Everyone I had dated before either was plant-based or became plant-based. When they met me, I'm doing yoga, would come to me yoga class. He's so different. Like his life, I respect it. Our garage is now his gym with all these like huge machines and biohacking things. And he's lifting, doing CrossFit. He's got a motorcycle, just completely different lifestyle. And that's what I said. If we did do a dating app, we would probably never have been matched, right?
No, I know.
But that's where the heart bypasses like all these blocks that can be created.
That's why I find dating apps to be, I mean, obviously I was never on dating apps because I was in a relationship, but even my friends, I'm always like, give me the phone. And I'm like, it's so hard because everything's just so physical and literal with who they are, right?
Well, I think what I would say to someone who is on dating apps, because I have friends too, I say when you become coherent, you can feel there's someone's energy.
That's why I like to take my friends' phones.
Saying whatever, workshopped picture they're putting on, look in their eyes, feel the energy.
I couldn't agree more.
See what happens. Yeah. I love you do that for your friends.
I just because I think it in this world that we live in where it's like instant gratification, everything is at our fingertips. You look, you match, you don't match.
It's so fast.
Right. And I'm like, let me look at that. First of all, I would love, I mean, this isn't for me. This is for, I've said this before. I'm like, if there were videos of them speaking maybe about themselves or what they love, like I think that could be helpful for people who aren't here.
Yes.
But we're trying to get people in here. So there's a moving around.
I also think that the mind goes to this is the most efficient place to meet someone. I have to be on the dating apps. So what I would say is be on the dating apps, but get your field more coherent. Do these practices. Watch what happens when you walk around the world. Meeting someone a coffee shop, on the elevator, or at dinner party where I met my husband. Yeah. Just when you are in a different vibration, different things come to you that wouldn't have come usually.
Right. So stay on the
apps. Your body changes, your vitality changes, your hormones change. And there's so much research around this as well. It blew my mind when I was doing the research for this book, and there were hundreds of citations. And I think on a deep level, we know that the heart's there. All these, you think about all the religions, right? The Sacred Heart of Jesus Christ, the Heart Sutra of Buddhism, It's mentioned in the Quran and the Torah. Like there's so many mentions of the heart, but yet we've become so heady. So this is where I love how spirituality and science intersect. When we come in, things work better. We feel better. We create success, whether that's in our love life, our relationships, our work life, better health results. It's going to come from a deeper place than the ego.
And everything follows.
Everything follows. We don't have to be chaotic. We don't have to get swept up in all the trends and what everyone else is doing, worrying that we're missing out or we're not doing enough. There's actually less doing and there's more sitting back and more feeling that inner syncing up, which we just did, right? In 37 seconds. That's shifting things. So if you do that even a little bit every day for a few seconds, you do the meditations, your vibration literally shifts week by week.
That's why I mean, before I try to do anything, I always say strive because, we all have those days where maybe your kids are up all night and you don't meditate in the morning, but finding these micro moments in the day, in your life, where I think we're so programmed now to tap into what everybody else is doing. Look at what everybody's wearing, who went to this party, and it can suck you into that vortex of lack of
comparison. Comparison will always be a losing game. And also there's a tool called the Heart Align Harmonize method that I teach in the book. And I'm teasing this because it's so important, but it's simple.
No, I can't
There's
wait
so much
to
science
read this
in
book.
It. But this one, love, you can do in 3 to 10 seconds. So you don't have to say, oh, wait, let me go do my meditation. Let's say you're having a conversation and something triggers you. Someone says something, ooh, you can do it. Just take a sip of water and get yourself more coherent. Come back. Your child's having this bananas tantrum in the middle of the grocery store. You do this tool and you can deal with them more calmly. And as you become more coherent, your child does as well. Because coherence is a field, right? All fields connect. And again, it's been measured by these magnetometers and just showing how the vibrations are interlinked because really it's all vibrations of light, electromagnetic fields. So you become coherent and then you can really shift outcomes in a meeting, on a date, at a party, at your child's school. So powerful.
It really is. When you realize you are the creator of the energy.
You are the
around
creator.
You.
Don't worry about other people's energy.
No. You can navigate it through locking in here.
And as you become more coherent, you also become more resilient to stress. Because as we know, from an inflammation standpoint, from a physical health standpoint, from emotional health, mental health, when we're more susceptible to little stressors, we're constantly wearing down our vitality and aging ourselves and not enjoying life. So when we become this more coherent field with heart-brain communication, boom, little things, it's like a fly, doesn't have to disrupt.
And it helps quiet that outside noise.
I think we overcomplicate things like charts and
I know
numbers and all these things.
I agree.
Eat whole foods, eat seasonal, try to eat fresh. Pick a couple recipes you can rotate and, mix up the veggies in them.
I learned about food combining principles I learned about it, I had heard about it, and then it was really your book where I was I understand just the way in which when certain foods are eaten together, that it can increase digestive time or reduce it. And it's definitely been something, because I eat a plant-focused diet.
Yes.
I don't like to label it. I'm not this or that, but the focus is plants.
Yes.
And I've introduced other things. I started experimenting and trying things. Just for me, it was more of this freedom of self and just feeling if I wanted to try something, I could have it without holding on to guilt or shame.
Yes.
And it's been this beautiful surrender for me, I think, with my journey of just being more
beautiful.
Who I am. And even though, I primarily eat a plant-focused diet, I do find that combining certain foods makes such a difference for my digestion.
Yes. And I've always taught, I would say 99% of my clients eat meat. So pair that chicken or that fish with those fiber-rich veggies. Take your digestive enzymes first. Help it along. right? Drink lots of water in between meals. Don't drink a lot of water with your meals, which dilutes the hydrochloric acid that you need to break down that animal protein more efficiently. Right. So it's more of a lifestyle. It's not all or nothing. It's not saying, that's why I never use the term vegan.
It's not a principle.
I don't like vegan. I just say I eat lots of plants and I keep it simple. And, I personally don't eat animal protein, but I also work with many in my family. My husband eats meat. But I think that we move away from truth when we get really into ideology and being obsessed with counting things all the time. It becomes very structured and it takes away, hey, I'm getting my period today. I really feel like I need this, the black beans, the iron. I really need a soup right now. I just need to relax. Or, hey, like right now, I feel like I do need the extra protein. I'm going to make myself a protein shake. It takes away our natural connection to self, heart, becomes very mechanical.
Right.
But I will say that some of the most in shape, incredible people, like my friend Brendan Brazier, are plant-based. So it shows you can get your protein needs if you choose to be plant-based. And you can also get them if you eat animal products, right?
There is no one way.
There is no one way.
And even though I love, food combining, I eat things that are, I'll have protein and carbs and mix a lot of different things. And it's never this it has to be this way. It is just turning on this internal compass when you are connected to yourself, to your heart, as you say, to really what intuitively feels good for you. When I know I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go and just focus on plants for this. And just, you can feel it when you want to shift away from combining certain foods or maybe eating mostly a plant-based diet. It's so interesting when you're really tuned into yourself and aligned.
I also think, and again, remember we talked about the brains and the centers of the body. So there's the one here in your head, and then there's the heart and the gut. So we talked a lot about the heart and getting coherent, getting clear, getting your system to sync up. When your gut and your microbiome is in check as well, which means our Soluna SBO probiotics, which are amazing, digestive enzymes, the detoxy, which you take at night, it's oxygen and magnesium, and stable vitamin C, which has been shown in research to stabilize your telomeres for DNA, so it's anti-aging, removes acids and waste. I don't care what kind of diet you're eating, you're going to digest better, you're going to be more resilient, your body's going to be more of an efficient machine. So sometimes, a lot of times, I see people focusing on this minutia, like, maybe I'm not getting enough riboflavin, or this one meal, No, overall, are you taking your probiotics on a daily basis? Are you drinking enough water on a daily basis? Are you taking detoxy regularly? That has been one of my secrets and my long-term clients like Reese Witherspoon and Drew Barrymore. That's a name drop, but they have been with me for many years. They take these amazing products. They post about them. I think it's one of the things we don't focus on is what am I eliminating versus just what I'm taking in. Because if we're accruing, especially us women tend to hold on to more wastes and acids. And then it's like, if I didn't clean my desk, but I just started putting pretty flowers on top, it's not really the same quality of tissue quality, blood flow. 98% of the blood is going through the colon. It's picking up waste and redistributing it. We need to get our center really clear and resilient. And then whatever kind of diet we're eating with particular meal, it's going to be better. We are going to feel better. So sometimes I feel like people, they're focusing on the wrong thing.
I know.
The minutia.
Well, it's just they want that thing to fix.
You could be really toxic and have huge amounts of protein, and you're not going to look the way you want to look. You'll still have dullness. Your skin may age prematurely, lots of things. But when you're clean, your body will uptake that protein. It will use all these amazing peptides. Everything will interact. Everything will just be more efficient. So we need to get back to basics, back to the heart, back to the gut, back to our intuition, back to not being so stressed out.
Yeah, I know.
It all works together.
It all works together.
Yeah.
And the release and because in order to, I think, right, the key to good health is you've got to release. You got to let everything go that comes, what you bring in, you want to exit. As I know a lot of people don't like to have the conversations on regularity and going to the bathroom every day, but that is something I remember you, it was it's like cleansing. It's like the key to good health.
Well, everything's interrelated, right? So when I had bulimia, I said I couldn't digest life. So I would, have this stress, take it in, and then just have these overwhelming emotions, and I would throw it up. I literally wasn't able to digest. So digestion is taking in, assimilation, and excretion. And so that takes place emotionally. Can we let go? Can we forgive? Can we let go of that resentment? Can we let go of that, whatever happened, and be present? And in our bodies, can we take in what's good? And can we release what we no longer need? So that energetic connection takes place on many levels. It's essential for our physical wellness that we adequately digest our foods. And that's why there's a connection when we're anxious, or for a lot of women, we hold on to things. And you'll notice you tend to be more, I was really bloated, constipated, I would hold on. And when I started to have these tools for heart coherence and releasing my emotions more spiritually, now my digestion is amazing. Like it really is it's not just the food we're eating, although that's important, but it all works together.
Are you getting colonic still? I feel like I remember when I met you at the Saluna launch.
Yes.
You were like, I don't,
So I did when I was in New York, and I was so constipated for years, love. There was so much backed up in there. Now I do not do colonics, but I do take our Detoxy at least 4 times a week.
In the evening,
right before bed, which is the oxygen supplement. If I don't, I still tend more towards not fully releasing. And I can tell my abs don't look as flat, and I notice it in my skin when I'm traveling. Like it's right in my bag. I
can't wait to try this one.
Every day, every single day, I take the Detoxy because I think it's really, really important. And I've worked with women now for 15 years. I can say very few women that I know, men a little bit stronger in some cases, but very few women do I know adequately release all that can be released. And I didn't know until I started really releasing. But guess what? It's like mentally, emotionally, I release more. When your body's backed up, you feel more stressed in your mind.
Oh, yes.
And when you feel more relaxed in your mind, your body functions better.
It makes you more anxious.
Yes.
Yes.
Hugely. It's all connected.
It's all connected.
Oh, main theme of our conversation.
I know.
Go in your heart, and it's all connected.
Thank you so much for being here. You are just someone I continue to learn. It's like you're just this vessel of knowledge, and like being here with you in person it's truly like such an honor. And I admire you. I really, really do. And I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for this conversation. I love being with you. I feel like we've been connected now for a decade, maybe, or so. Or
I mean, I've been connected to you for a decade. Now you're connected to me.
Amazing. And I love you as a human. I love you, your beautiful heart. I'm so happy for everything you've created. And I'm so grateful.
Oh, I'm so grateful. Where can everyone find you? Tell us about your new books, your children's book, and your website. Just give us all the information because everyone needs to follow you.
So the new book is called The Hidden Power of the 5 Hearts. Or, you can order anywhere on Amazon and bookstores, Barnes and Noble, as the children's book is as well. Chilla Gorilla and Lanky Lemur, Journey to the Heart. Our main hub is mysoluna.com, which means sun and moon. SOLLUNA.com, where we have our digestive products, our probiotics, our Detoxy, our new Glowing Greens powder, our Feel Good podcast. And then on social, I'm @_Kimberly Snyder.
You are truly just one of the greatest.
Thank you so much, love.
I love you.
I love you too.
This was so beautiful. I need to hug you. Yeah.